Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget our newsletter. You can check it out. Great stories twice a week. No spam, just great news about the issues that impact you. Very reflective of this talk show. It's free. More details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Joining us now is State Representative John Vanderwada. Representative Vanderwada, thank you for joining us, sir.
Hey, good morning.
You know, it's a little early, but I know you guys are always hitting the ground running. You're in the crosshairs here. Your bill is what people are talking about, the restrictions, the work requirements on Medicaid expansion. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came up with the requirements, why it's important, and where are we, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of discussions and talks. Originally, I started off with like 13 points that I sent to the governor's office of possible sideboards or possible options to go in there, and then had a lot of discussions with members in the House and some members in the Senate and with the governor's office, and settled down on this was probably the best I could get. It wasn't always it wasn't necessarily what I was looking for. I was trying to look for something that I thought we could get through both bodies and get to the governor's desk.
Indeed, when we take a look at the nuts and bolts of the bill, some people have maybe had a 20-second news clip on the TV or the radio, or maybe they've skimmed the headlines of the paper. What's the meat of the bill? What does it accomplish?
Basically, there's about 3 or 4 main things. One of them is the work requirement. That's what most of the media seems to be focusing on. The work requirement matches what we do in the SNAP program, which also has a work requirement. With the one exception, SNAP gives an exemption for a work requirement if you have a child under 6 at home. This, you have an exemption if you have a child under 18 at home. And so this allows the parent to stay home with the teenager during that time frame. One of the other things that we're looking at is that currently we have about 20,000 people that are in the 100 to 138% that are on Idaho's healthcare exchange. Under the current law, they would have to go to Medicaid. They can't stay on the exchange. They'll lose their subsidy and everything like that. So we're asking for a waiver on that one that would give the people the option that they can choose whether they want to stay on their own private insurance or whether they want to go on Medicaid. And so both of those require waivers from CMS. And so it's a matter of whether they get approved. Work requirements have been approved. The other one has not been approved at this point, but I think we have some really good arguments in that we already have these people on private insurance, and it's a state-run exchange. It's not a federal exchange. And we already have these people, and we're just giving them a choice. We're not going to say, you have to go on Medicaid. We're going to try to allow them to have the choice of whether they want to go on, stay on private insurance or whether they want to go on Medicaid.
State Representative John Vanderwada with us. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Does it put a cap on the spending? People have said there should be perhaps a $400 million cap or a $500 million cap. We're worried. Obviously, sir, you're right in the arena, perhaps bankrupting the state because of perhaps no cap on the Medicaid expansion, and all of a sudden we're spending.
This is my biggest fear. This does not put a cap on it, but this is still my biggest fear when we look at, and as I said, this is not necessarily what I would have written if it were just my bill. I would have loved to put a cap on it, but I don't think that works and getting it through the House and through the Senate. But I've looked at like Montana, who instituted the program, and they had estimated $432 million was what the program was going to cost, and I think it ended up being like $803 million. So all the estimates everywhere you go, all the different states that you've looked at, there have been substantially more people signed up than what the estimates were.
How do you respond to the Democrats that say they want a clean bill and have already criticized this bill, sir?
I think, 61% of the people said they wanted Medicaid expansion. We're still giving them Medicaid expansion, and I think it's fiscally responsible for us to make sure that as we implement laws, that we implement them in a way that tries to make sure we can pay for it. And, the current ballot measure did not have a fiscal impact and did not have a funding mechanism in it. And as we look at what has happened at other states, I think it's important that we try to make sure we don't, bust our budget on something like this, where it costs us a whole lot more than what we thought it would.
Well, and to follow up on that, there's always the bait and switch with the federal government. Currently 90-10. That could change in an instant. I believe your bill addresses that, but how legitimate of a concern is that we're used to 90-10 and all of a sudden they go 50-50, or they flip it around even reverse where the feds are funding 40 and Idaho's funding 60. Could we afford that?
No, we can't. There's no way we can afford it. And, right now at the 90-10, it costs us, $45 million or somewhere in that ballpark is what our estimation is. Every percent could add another $4 million or stuff to our budget, take that back out of our budget. And so that's why we do have a sunset in there, that if the rate goes below 90%, then the program will sunset. But the legislature has a chance to look at it, but it does sunset if the federal reimbursement rate changes below 90.
Concretely, what would, let's just say all of a sudden it gets out of hand. Without that sunset provision, taxes would go up, cost of living would go up. It would be, and just to reinforce your point, sir, that it would be tough for people in Idaho to keep up with funding that, right?
Yeah. I mean, if it drops to 80-20 or, our current Medicaid is 70-30, or right in that neighborhood. And so if it goes up to something like that, you could, it could bust the budget all the way around. You would probably have to raise taxes everywhere in order to be able to continue to fund something that large. And, the whole program is, $400 million. I mean, we focus so much on, well, it's only $40 million or $45 million of state money, but the whole program is going to be $400 million. And so it's a substantial amount of money that we're going to be spending.
Obviously, this has to be the biggest issue the state has faced, I guess, since Obamacare.
I think so. I look back as to when I first came into the legislature 12 years ago, and there was talk about, well, we need to get away from federal spending and not to be that dependent on the federal dollars. But if you look at just the exchange, how much federal dollars are coming into subsidies for people to buy insurance, and this program, it's right now, the projections are with this additional funding that it's going to be an additional $800 million a year coming into Idaho just on those two, the exchange and the Medicaid expansion.
Before we let you go, I have to ask you my favorite question. First of all, thank you again, sir, for joining us. And I'm a friendly here, no worries. But the repeal of the grocery tax, where do you think that is?
I think that will not get a look until next year. There's so much out there as far as revenue. Is it going to show up? Because everybody knows we're low on revenue. Is it just miscalculation? Is it all going to show up in April and May? Or are we really in a totally different ballgame? And I think there's just, until we see how that settles down with all the new tax laws, where there's just not the assurance that there is the additional revenue at this point.
Do you believe that your bill will make it through the House and the Senate? I know this is a big ask. Or do you think that there'll be a compilation and we'll do it at like the last week of the session?
My goal and my hope is that this one gets through both bodies. I have to get it through the House first before I can figure out whether it's going to get through the Senate. But the reason I got involved in this, because nobody was doing anything, I wasn't hearing anything, and I thought, I don't want to be here the last week, and I don't want to go to a conference committee. I've tried that once, and I would just soon not try that again. So I'm hoping, and that's why I've worked also with the governor's office on this, to try to get something that we can get through both bodies. But you never really know until it gets to the floor. I mean, I don't know. I haven't, I'm not counting noses. I'm not asking people, where are you at on this one? It's just, here it is. This is the one bill we got. We kind of agreed between a lot of us here that's okay. We're just going to go with one bill, see where it goes, see if it gets through or not. And if it doesn't, we're back to square one, I guess, and we'll probably be here a little longer.
State Representative John Vanderwoude, thank you, sir, and keep up the great work. And I'm glad that you got the process started, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Your reaction next, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to our friend Max in Garden City. He's a little shy. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Oh, yes, it is I, the Shrinking Violet. Good morning, Kevin.
Morning, Max.
You know, I lived in a communist country for 15 years, and I know a commie when I see one. Communism is a creeping disease. It's insidious, but you know what? It's very effective. It opposes the most basic freedoms of people, from birth control to abortion to euthanasia. It's evil, Kevin. Communists, the Democratic Party, want our freedoms. You know, they say the enemy is coming. No, Kevin, the enemy is here. We're at war. We're under siege. They're in our neighborhoods, our schools, our media, our government offices. They've invaded our churches. They're easily identified, yet for some reason we ignore them, we coddle them, or God help us, we believe them. There may as well be an invader living right next door to you. There probably is across the street. And I'm not calling commie in every corner, but they're everywhere. This issuance of 81 subpoenas, that's just another salvo fired at us. I would say to the American people, I would say to you in Idaho, how dare you roll over and die? How dare you sheepishly submit? Either act or be counted as the enemy. It's time to stand and be counted. If you aren't with us, you are against us, and the commies aren't coming. They're already here.
I would agree with you on that. So, how do we stop them?
The only way we can stop them is one of your callers earlier said that the Democratic emails and phone calls outnumber the conservative ones 50-1. Guys, you've got a smartphone, you've got a flip phone, you've got a dial phone. Call, jam the switchboards, lock them up. If 100 people call at once, they can't handle it. Flood them with emails, talk to your neighbors. Don't even try to talk to this communist Democrat pig who lives across the street, because he doesn't want to listen. He's already convinced that we need a Green New Deal.
You're right. Of course, how are we going to pay for it? Max, thank you for the call. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning. Coming up, the Stop Socialism Express continues. And how about this one? An Eagle driver convicted of vehicular manslaughter is appealing his case. We talked about it before. If you don't remember, I'll remind you about it next. Get your calls. Remember, join the conversation now. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And rolling right along, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up, we've got a bill that would allow young adults to conceal and carry handguns in Idaho cities. Oh, I don't know if the libs will be happy about that one. Let's hear what you have to say. We go to the best-selling author, Liberty Linda. You can get her book on Amazon. Finally got it to, soft cover and hardcover. What's the title of your book again, Liberty Linda?
The Spirit and the Sticker Patch. And
that's right. It's under Liberty Linda in Amazon, The Spirit and the Sticker Patch. Very colorful cover. What can I do for you today?
Well, Kevin, did we all wake up in a different warped time zone? If we close our eyes while listening to our television these days, we would think we were listening in Hitler's era. At one time, we thought liberals were far to the left. Now, Kevin, we actually have socialists and communists actually out openly running for office. You say thank you for waking up on the right side. Kevin, I think we're waking up on the left side.
Well, I see that, and I see that with Ocasio-Cortez and her crew and her ilk, and now all of a sudden, apparently there was $1 million that was allegedly laundered, and of course the press isn't covering that. We have to continue to grow look, we can't do anything about the national stuff, but we can continue to grow this program here to make it an effective force. And by the way, we have not given up on our crusade to bring the president here. We love the president. We're about the president. We want the president to come here and fire us up. We are the most conservative state, and certainly he'd be very welcome here.
Absolutely. He's the one man that has saved our nation, and they're going bonkers about it. Yeah, they're doing everything they possibly can to tear this guy down. And we can't let it happen. He has saved our nation. I truly believe that. He's the best thing. I believe he was given to us by God. I really do. And he can hug the flag every day if he wants to. I'm for that. So I say, let's all go back to sleep, Kevin, and hope we will wake up on the right side again, just as you say every day. So that's what I'm for.
Well, they're not going to put us in the closet. Liberty Linda, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. God bless. Calling us from St. George, Utah. That's right. Who knows where our next affiliate of the Kevin Miller Show will find us. People in Wyoming, people in New Hampshire, people in Ohio. More importantly, though, we represent the Gem State, and we're so privileged to be with you each and every morning. Speaking of which, let's get you to work safely and on time. KIDO Talk Radio.
Larry Gabbard.
Larry, appreciate you and all the great folks at Channel 7. Let's go to Holly in Caldwell. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Holly.
Good morning. We are concerned about our youth being possibly misguided with some false curriculums. And then we saw during the campaign all of the lies about Prop 2 that got it passed. The concerning part is all of the demanding ads telling people to demand the legislature to give them what they wanted, almost like the left tone. My question is who's paying for those ads?
Well, I would think it would be, for Prop 2?
Well, even on the ones on your page that say, tell the legislature this. I mean, is it the health insurance companies, or who's funding those?
It's a good point. Got me.
It's a really good point. And I guess what I'm saying is I'm not blaming you. I know everybody has to pay the bills. I'm just saying are conservatives falling for that type of lie, and it's like in your face so much that it's huge money that's funding that. So I just think I want to know who's funding that kind of stuff.
Here's the skinny on that. I believe they have to disclose that, and and again, not to bite the hand that feeds me, but the reason why they advertise on this program and others is they realize the audience they're trying to reach, the people that are engaged and trying to influence them.
Totally agree with that. And I'm just hoping that people are smart enough. The tone of those ads are, I think, very interesting because, like I said, they have the tone of the left of we need it, we deserve it, do it now, and I think that I'm hoping that at least we haven't had that sickness seep into the adults. It might have you a teenager mentality to think that things work like that. But anyway, that's my question is, going to find out who in the heck is funding all that ridiculous demanding ads to the legislature. And if they think they're ever going to get a grocery tax repeal, that's not going to happen if you fund things like that because they're going to be raising taxes everywhere to pay for things like that. That's just how communism works. So,
well, and going back to the repeal of the grocery tax, it's funny that has been put on hold for so long when you think about how big it was last year during the election cycle.
I would have to agree with you, and yeah, I would totally have to agree with you. And unfortunately, there seems to be a lot of sound bites that help people get elected, and there's only a few people in the legislature that would probably really like to pass that anyway. And so, anyway, it's unfortunate.
Holly, we appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Have a great day.
Thank you. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Speaking of the repeal of the grocery tax, there is one person, there is one show, there is one audience, us, that continue to hold people accountable, not any other media entity. You know why? Well, they want to go to the dinners. They want to go to the buffets. Oh, I love those buffets. And they want to be in on the in crowd. Well, we create our own crowd here, but where is the repeal of the repressive grocery tax? Coming up next, one guy has an issue with us because he thinks taxes are good. I'll share that story plus your reaction next. Kevin Miller, 107.5 FM, 580 KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
They actually detail that when how it happened. By the way, the government says the phone surveillance program is going out of style. In fact, they say, according to a published report, They haven't been using it in years or months or whatever. Of course, this is the same government that was exposed by Edward Snowden for lying to us. Edward Snowden was right. Edward Snowden's exposed our government spying on us without any warrants, without anything else. And then all of a sudden, Edward Snowden's in Russia. I really recommend a great documentary, Citizen4, which actually detailed what happened during Snowden giving all that information to those folks from The Guardian. We are talking about the repeal of the grocery tax. I can't wait to share with you this email from a gentleman that calls me a moron. Now, we do that for entertainment purposes only, but does he have a point? Bonnie in Boise. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Hello, Bonnie.
Hi, Kevin. This is quite a good show this morning on KIDO. It's been very all over the place, but I loved how you slipped in the grocery repeal at the very last. They didn't like it. It was obvious, but you did a good job. And I was just going to say, I don't think we'll ever get it unless we push it. And the only way we're going to get it is if we have an initiative. I know it sounds horrible, and probably we won't do it because we don't want to work at it, just like we don't call in to our representatives. And it's not pleasant if they are of the other persuasion to contact them because they're nasty. And they try and, shut you up. You disrespect me, and I laugh. No, you just don't like criticism. But I think the initiative is probably the only way to go and get it. I get it. They're not once they get a hold of our money, they never want to let it go. That's just how they are.
Bonnie, can you explain to me how all these folks that ran for office, we're going to repeal the grocery tax, everybody. Whoops, we're $60 million in the hole. Whoops, we got Medicaid expansion. Whoops, we can't pay for it. But by golly, next time we're running for election, we're going to do it, I promise.
Well, maybe we should just tell them that we're not going to vote for them. We can't, this is what Republicans do all the time. They don't stand together. The Democrats always do. They stand together, shoulder to shoulder, even when they know they're wrong, and just keep fighting for whatever stupid project they want. And we see it now with they're going after Trump. It's really sad, but we break up just like in the Senate. Everybody running around, posturing. We're not going to vote for the border wall problem as a national emergency. It's not a national emergency. But do you know how mad they get? I called one of the New Mexico senators because there was a interesting article on 67 illegal immigrants, whatever you call them. I hope that's still okay on the radio, but
it is okay on KIDO Talk Radio.
It is. Oh, all right. Okay. But they were jammed into one of those contractors' trailers that are put on lots when they're building something. 67 of them, and they were trafficked, and they were being, human trafficking, and it was really sick. They found it. They arrested the person who smuggled them in, and this senator had just made an announcement that there's no urgency on the border. There's no emergency. He knew.
Sure.
He's from New Mexico.
Right.
That's what they do.
You're right, Bonnie. Thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio. We'll get on it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bonnie's right, though, and talking about a sense of urgency. So I know this is not our favorite segment, but we call it Reading Along with Kevin. Now, Kevin is a spoken word guy. A reader, kind of struggle with it. I know you're going, gosh, how old is this guy? Did anybody teach him phonics? Sadly, no. So I apologize for my reading in advance. Kevin Miller, please cut the crap. You are a moron. Idaho needs all the tax money it can get. The grocery tax is rebated to the citizens of Idaho based on family size and age, and many wealthy citizens send their refund back to the state in the space provided on the state tax return. Obviously, you do not own taxes. No. Obviously, you do not do your own taxes, and thus you do not know how the grocery tax is rebated. Repeal of the grocery tax only benefits people from out of state. Local citizens who buy groceries from Winco and shop at the sales at Albertsons and Fred Meyer basically pay on the grocery tax. Wealthy citizens like you who open and buy overpriced groceries at Whole Foods, Albertsons, and Fred Meyer pay the tax. Now, wait a minute. He just said Albertsons and Fred Meyer. Anyway, in all caps, Idaho needs tens of millions to improve our roads. Instead of eliminating a tax, the gas tax needs to be raised again and again after that. An audit of where the money from the last gas tax increase went. Now, that's not me. That's this writer. Your Miller Minute is annoying. Well, Bob, I thank you for that. So here we have it. Bob says that you should be happy paying a grocery tax. Bob says that we're not paying enough taxes. And this is not our great friend Tea Party Bob. This is emailer Bob. Bob says I'm a moron because I want the repeal of the grocery tax. Well, Bob, thank you for your opinion. We appreciate that. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO, if I'm such a moron, and I'm not getting defensive here, why did every politician running for office say that we can afford to repeal the grocery tax, but they haven't had enough initiative or foresight or backup to put it before the citizen legislature? If I'm such a moron, why was I the only one talking about the secret back deal with the gas tax that they passed? Remember that? Maybe you don't. So we had people that were mad because our roads weren't up to snuff, right? So what did they do? Hey, we need a gas tax. And were the people in favor of it? Heck no, they weren't in favor of it. So what happened next? I'm not kidding. In the middle of the bleeping night on the last day of the flippin' legislature, they passed the gas tax. I remember because we had the intrepid young reporters that are now spokespeople for public service companies saying, it looks like it's going to pass, everybody. This is historic. They were sneaky and freaky. Sneaky and freaky passing that gas tax. Of course, have the roads gotten any better? Has the planning gotten any better? Has your life gotten any better? Well, we need to spend more money. Sure, I really love going to one of these stores that this young person or not so young person has mentioned and paying the additional tax, the percentage. It doesn't make sense. In fact, according to USA Today, Idaho is like the 29th best, most, least affordable state to live. 9.6% of our income goes to taxes. Now, you talk about quality of life. If I'm a moron, and who's to say the book's out? A lot can happen between now and Glenn Beck at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Why did everyone, including the current governor, endorse the repeal of the grocery tax? And senators and representatives. And for me personally, I think it's unfair of our elected officials. And look, man, I'm a big baller. I'm a member of the Ada County Air Quality Board. I don't know if I can reveal that publicly. We do some highfalutin stuff. Not really. You get a free lunch once a month, and there's some wonderful people on this board. But when you get into a certain area, when you get into a certain cohort, you get that sense of self-importance. And maybe you lose track of the individuals that supported you. And maybe it's time that someone made a public statement, a news conference, and the vaunted Idaho Press Club can cover it with their cupcakes and croutons that they're having and saying to themselves, why not the repeal of the grocery tax? And the governor, the House Majority Leader, Speaker Moyle, he's told us that with Tommy Alquist on the Inspire Excellence podcast. He's come out because we asked him about it, along with Minority Leader Matt Erpelding. But where is the Speaker of the House? Where's the Senate Pro Tem? Where's someone to say, look, you know something? This is the situation. There will be no repeal of the grocery tax. And be honest. You know, the young people. You know, Ray and Maya and I, we always talk about the young people. Like our man Joel here, who is the mini show monitor today. Because they want to make sure that we've got the younger demo. So they've got like a young suit in here watching. like a young Jeff the Suit, if you will. And he's not taking notes. He's typing on his keyboard. I'm not making this up, folks. You know, they talk about authenticity. Where is our authenticity when it comes to state leaders? I'm not attacking them personally, just saying, where is the repeal of the grocery tax? We can't afford it. Then make a statement. Certainly we have a ton of press releases coming out. And I think people like Bonnie and Max and Tea Party Bob and Kevin Miller and Tom Munns would appreciate that. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So back to what Bob says, Idaho needs all the tax money it can get. And he says you get a rebate, so you're not paying anything in grocery taxes. And by the way, we need to pay more in roads and more in gas taxes. Are you down with more taxes? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And rolling along, let's go to Mark in Meridian with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Mark.
Good morning. I had a quick comment. You just mentioned the reason we don't need to repeal the grocery taxes. We get our money back at the end of the year anyway. That's the kind of logic that we need to slam them with. If we get it back, then why don't we get rid of it and eliminate all the bookkeeping? That's a ridiculous argument.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah.
No,
well,
I was just
reading your show, and I appreciate you holding their feet to the fire. I don't know if they'll do any good, but I'm with you.
Thank you, Mark. You have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. I believe this man is he's on the road. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I don't know where he is, and perhaps from an undisclosed location. Our great friend, the Sweet Prince of the Treasure Valley, the publisher of the Gem State Patriot, Tea Party Bob joins us. Good morning, sir.
Well, you know, I never miss a show, Mr. Miller. So here I am traveling up in lovely Donnelly with 6-foot-high snow and wondering what was been going on down in Boise, and you've just explained to me how many idiots we actually have running around down there. You know, I hate to be the one that told you so, but I told you so. If you think that there will be a repeal of the grocery tax, you might as well be whistling past the graveyard and hoping somebody's going to give you some applause. You know, now they're going to put Medicaid expansion through. We will not have enough money in the budget to repeal the tax, and I mean that. I don't think that's going to happen, period. And when you have idiots like the guy that called you up or sent you that email and wrote you that elongated dissertation on taxes, he needs to move to California and do it today. You know, as I've said many times before, you cannot fix stupid, and certainly this is one of those times. Representative Vanderwood did a great job of explaining what's going on there. He's correct in everything that he had to say and nothing different than I have been saying for the last 3 years. You allow Medicaid expansion into our state, you will not only have higher taxes, less medical care, but you're going to encourage more legislation for social programs that we can't afford. You know, if the people of Idaho had been told the truth about Medicaid expansion and what it would have cost, what it was going to cost them, we would never have had it passed. And the fact that they did all of this advertising, this is really false advertising, to goad the people into voting for this is just absolutely unfathomable. In a place like Idaho, you would think people would have a little bit more understanding and say, no, we're not going to fall for this again. We already fell for this with the healthcare exchange. But no, they do it again. And who paid for this? The medical community. Just as we proved back in 2014, they paid to get the healthcare exchange through. It's the hospitals, the medical mafia, the doctors who are going to benefit from these onerous programs. You know, the people of Idaho need to hold their legislators responsible for their actions in the next election and get rid of the rhinos who are responsible for the continued expansion of our state bureaucracy and the new rules and regulations and taxes they put upon the people who elected them to do just the opposite. You know, if we don't wake up after this, when are we going to wake up? And maybe it's time to start looking at the places in Wyoming, because this state is not doing what it's supposed to. And the voters, I mean, they're missing the vote here. They have an opportunity to change this, and they don't seem to want to do it. Or
by the way, Terry from State College, Pennsylvania says, wait a minute, what kind of idiot drives in 6-foot snow and talks on the phone?
Well, he doesn't drive in 6-foot snow. He drives on dry roads. Terry's the one who would drive in the 6-foot snow and dig up rocks from the Hawaiis, put them in his driveway. But then that's Terry. What can I tell you?
All right, Tea Party Bob, safe travels. So the snow, a lot of snow up there. There we go.
Oh, I haven't seen this much snow up here since I lived here, and that was the last bad snow like this was probably back in 2003, 2004. Horrible. Never saw some. I mean, they've got it shoveling off the roofs. They've got cranes out there actually taking snow off some of the roofs. The snow load is so heavy. In fact, I talked to a guy at an old church that I used to go to up here yesterday, and he said this is the highest snow load they have ever had on their building. So yeah, it's a problem. If people like to ski, this is the place to come to.
All right. Good luck with the snowshoes.
Thanks, my friend. You take care.
Safe travels, our great friend Tea Party Bob. Kevin Miller in the morning. Traffic and weather together on
News Channel 7's Every Gabbard.
All right, Larry, thank you very much. Coming up, Fox News on the radio here on KIDO Talk Radio. Big stories going on. The president really giving it to the Democrats. And, of course, that tragic local story coming out of Meridian involving a man admitted to killing his wife and in custody now with the Meridian police. We'll talk about it coming up very soon. So here we have R. Kelly. And I know a lot of you, maybe you know John Cougar Mellencamp. Maybe you love the Beatles. But this guy, R. Kelly, back in, the 80s and 90s, maybe even 2000s, was a huge, big star like Michael Jackson and Prince. Well, he had an interview recently with CBS News, and he's blaming social media for starting and perpetrating allegations that he sexually abuses people. Now, remember, he was charged last month with 10 counts of aggravated sex abuse involving 4 victims. 3 of them were minors. Now, this isn't the first time Mr. Kelly has denied sexual misconduct. You recall in 2008, we told you about on KIDO Talk Radio, he was acquitted of child pornography charges over a video that prosecutors said showed him having relations with a girl as young as 13. Mr. Kelly was very upset, and you don't have to come off the HBO documentary Leaving Neverland to understand the significance of these allegations.
Any girl that I had a relationship in the past that it just didn't work out, she can come and say the same exact thing.
So he says he's falsely accused. Now, considering how close Mr. Kelly came to spending time in the big house, why in the world would you ever go anywhere near anyone who's a minor, Mr. Kelly?
I didn't do this stuff. This is not me. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my career. Robert. 30 years of my career.
There we have Gayle King trying to calm him down. Robert, like she's the mommy and he's the kid. But remember the allegations in 2008 and now. He was acquitted once, and prosecutors just don't make this stuff up.
I didn't do this stuff. This is not me. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this.
All right, more coming up. Remember, we'll get your reaction next, and we've got a whole cause preventing child abuse. We'll talk about it. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.